military leaders facing backlash over their support of politicians at political events, particularly these conventions. Retired General Michael Flynn and John Allen both spoke at the Republican and Democratic conventions, respectively, to pledge their support for Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. But a former military leader saying that they overstepped their bounds. In a letter to the Washington Post, General Dempsey writes, quote, "Politicians should take the advice of senior military leaders, but keep them off the stage. The American people should not wonder where their military leaders draw the line between military advice and political preference." Let's bring in Fox News military analyst, retired four-star General Jack Keane. General, always a pleasure to see you. What do you make of this? Should they stay off the convention stage?
Yes, I believe they should. I mean, I totally agree with General Marty Dempsey. I know John Allen and Mike Flynn both. They're friends and they're accomplished and distinguished general officers who served this country admirably. But this is the issue. The reality is the United States military is arguably the most respected institution in America. Why? Competence of the people, people willing to sacrifice themselves to protect the nation, and the fact that it is a totally non-partisan organization. It serves a president of the United States regardless of his or her political affiliations and political policies. And that is a distinguished thing and separates itself from the rest of U.S. government. So when we have a retired general officer mount the stage and take such a political view in support of a candidate, he's on that stage because of his rank and his association with the military. And I think what it does, it can erode the public's confidence in a nonpartisan organization like the United States military. And the second thing is we never want our civilian national leaders to ever question whether the United States military has a political view or not. We want our soldiers to serve loyally regardless of the president's political views, and we don't want him to think that we have one as well. Of course, these two men have a right to vote, they have a right to express themselves, but they should not publicly endorse candidates and stay off such a public display of partisan politics.
General, of everyone I've ever known in my lifetime who has served or is still serving, if you ask them about politics, they're always so careful. They might express a political opinion, but they said, in terms of my role and my job protecting this country, I take orders from that the leader of the country is the leader of the country, who is elected president. Do you think that with these military officers speaking at these conventions, does it send the wrong message also to those in service today?
Yeah, I think it does, and I think that's a very good point that you're making, Dagan, because those who serve take pride in the fact that they are serving a commander-in-chief, regardless of that commander-in-chief's policies. The commander-in-chief sends them to war, and often, not all the time, but at times, military leaders and military soldiers may not agree with that. But they go anyway because that's what they signed up for. They committed to protect this nation, and they execute the orders of their leaders. And that is an incredibly powerful commitment that they're making. We don't want any erosion of that. And I know these two generals don't intend that to happen. These are very, very good men. I just think it's misguided to make such a public display of partisan support and the impact it has on the military, and particularly on the civil-military relationship that is so crucial for the success of our democracy.
I want to move on to something else. Both of the presidential nominees, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, will start to receive regular intelligence briefings as early as this week. What is the reasoning behind this practice, General, and is this wise?
Oh, I think so. I mean, listen, it's done out of a courtesy. There's no rules, no laws that are driving it. The practice started post-World War II with President Truman. And I think it's a good policy. I mean, they're not going to give them the details that a president is getting every single day so that he can make decisions on the commitment of resources, overt resources as well as covert resources. They're not going to get that, but they'll get more than what they would receive from their advisors, and I think it's very good for them to get that kind of context and perspective. I don't think by nature it would necessarily change their public policy, but it will inform them and prepare them. One of them obviously is going to be president, and it begins to prepare them to understand some of the realities that the United States is truly facing that are not in the public domain.
General, I watched the Chris Wallace interview, I think as many people in this country did, with Hillary Clinton. And the way that she articulates, whether you agree with her or not, the way she articulates the world stage and our relationship with other nations, say Russia, for example, she is very well versed and expresses herself very well. How do you think Donald Trump, who has run into trouble with that very thing, even had to be sort of corrected by George Stephanopoulos that Russia is in Ukraine, in fact. How do you think he handles her on the debate stage?
Well, this is an interesting question you just asked me, Dagan, because all of my years on television, I have refused to ever make a comment about a political candidate's policies or viewpoints, going back to what our initial discussion was. I want to maintain my political independence. I don't want to associate myself with any political party or any political candidate, even though I've spoken to 7 of them, 1 Democrat and 6 Republicans privately on national security. I think that's almost an obligation. But on national television, I would never make any comment on any of their views or policies for the very reason we began the questioning, to maintain independence and to separate myself from any partisan viewpoint.
I think that's called walking the walk. Something that in this day and age not very many people do. General, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. I was more
I know you didn't know I had that viewpoint, so
I was more curious just about how they express themselves, that's all. But General, it was great to see you, as always. General Jack Keane.
Good talking to you, Doug.
Take care.